What's in the Founders series for that extra $50K over the base model?
I can't say.
Fair enough.
But it'll be cool. I mean, we're gonna do some things with the new Roadster that are kind of unfair to other cars.
Well, the SpaceX package, I assume, is one of the things you're mentioning.
If you put cold grass thrusters in the cars, I mean, you can just go in any direction.
10 of them around the car, right? You've said, I think.
I mean, if you have, like, say, 3 Gs of thrust, you can go in any direction. You can go up and still accelerate upward at 2 Gs.
Yeah. Is that, I don't know, is that a good idea?
I mean, it's not the safest thing in the world. Sounds like fun.
What is that option package going to set me back?
I don't know. I mean, we haven't figured out exact pricing, but this is really just taking the SpaceX cold gas thrusters and sticking them in a car.
Yeah. Because you can.
Yeah, we already have them, so it's not like we know they work. We use them in the rocket.
How do you manage to keep the Roadster a secret? It seemed like you shocked everybody by pulling out of the back of that semi-truck.
We got we leased a really nondescript building near our design studio and did all the work in the separate building.
Nice.
Yeah, so nobody knew this building even existed.
I heard you have like a skunk works thing in this building somewhere where you guys are all working on all kinds of fun new stuff.
Well, there's a whole basement full of test equipment that we try out different powertrains mostly in this building.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think we're pretty excited. There's like a lot of exciting technology coming down the pike. But I mean, our primary focus right now is just making sure that Tesla is in a good financial condition, that we're producing at high rate for the Model 3 especially, getting the cars delivered, improving manufacturing efficiency, output, staying on track with the Shanghai Gigafactory and the Model Y. The Model Y is going back to my point, the Model Y it's much roomier inside than it appears on the outside.
Yes, I found that. I got to attend the event and get a test ride.
You were in it,
yes,
yeah.
and I found this the exact same thing.
Yeah, a lot of people think it looks not that much bigger than a Model 3. It's intended to not look big, but it's actually, like, I think the mark of a good design is, for a vehicle, is that it feels much bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside. Yeah.
In fact, on that very note, with the design of the Model Y, it's very close in sort of general appearance to the 3. Were you tempted to be more aggressive with its styling, or was the idea of sort of staying a little more conservative with it, knowing that the 3 is a success and it works, was that a design exercise, that sort of playing it conservative, a design exercise in itself?
Well, going from the S to the X, we made so many changes. It was the S to the X, Model X to the Model X, Model S to the Model X was intended to have a lot of carryover, but we put so much new technology. And the amount of hubris we put into the Model X was really astounding. The car is made of hubris.
Right, you've called it the Fabergé egg many times. As impressive as it is.
It's nutty. I mean, we even developed sonar that could see through metal that the military doesn't have. So that's crazy. And that was just so that we could avoid having a puck, a visible puck in the door. We developed sonar that could see through metal. That's insane. We should not have done that.
You do also seem, the Y aside, you seem to be on a never-ending quest to find the coolest unconventional door handle in history. All the cars outside the 3 and the Y have their own cool way of getting in.
We put a lot of effort into that Model S door handle. I love it.
It's great.
Yeah.
Even I saw at the Autonomy Day, somebody posted a video of the Roadster. I guess probably your phone key or key card, key fob on you, and then you swipe on the B pillar. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the Model X has the coolest doors. Like
self-presenting.
Yeah, exactly. People know about the Falcon Wing doors, the doors that sort of open up like wings. And by the way, those doors actually have a different opening arc depending upon what's around them.
Right.
So if there's nothing around them, we optimize the opening arc to be as beautiful as possible, for the actual movement to be as balletic as possible. And it'll only veer from the most beautiful movement if there's something close by, in which case it will change its movement arc to avoid the obstacle. And it's insane. That door is insane. But the door that actually will be is the most that you will notice the most on a day-to-day basis is the front doors, where the car actually triangulates the Bluetooth signal from the key fob,
right.
Detects if you're walking towards.
I've seen it in action.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Most people don't realize this exists, but all doors on the Model X are automatic. So the front door, it's actually doing radio triangulation on the Bluetooth receiver on your key, and calculating that you're walking towards the car in a way that suggests intent to enter, as opposed to parallel to the car,
walking by
or orthogonal to the car. So it won't open the door if you walk parallel to the car. It won't open the door if you walk to the trunk or to the hood. It'll only open the door if you walk to where you'd want to enter the car.
That's awesome.
And it'll open the door just before you get there, and then you sit down. You never touch the door. You tap the brake pedal to start the car, and the door closes.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I've talked to a number of S or 3 owners who miss that when they're not in their Model X.
Once you start using it, it's like then it feels weird that you have to open and close the door, and so people after using an X for a while will get in a normal car and sit there and not close the door because they expect their car to close its own door.
I wanted to ask you, go back to the Model Y. What is the biggest lesson learned from the Model 3 program that you're applying to the Y, either from a design perspective or, I presume, a manufacturing one?
We tried not to go. So the reason I mentioned the S and the X is that the X ended up being a radical departure from the S, and the only things that were in common were the drive units and the battery pack, really. And the center display. Like, there's really everything else changed. We have that sort of helicopter cockpit windscreen in the front.
Yeah.
That the doors we talked about. The rear seats were insanely difficult to do to hide the tracks in the floor, so that when you open the Falcon Wing doors and you look across, you see an absolutely clean silhouette with a monopost seat.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. I think probably 6 people in the world even noticed that, frankly. But it was insanely difficult to do. With Model Y, we wanted to avoid the technology bandwagon that we had with the X, where it should have been easy going from S to X, and instead it was hell because there were so many new technologies.
Right.
And we didn't want that to be the case, and it would be too risky for the company to do that with the Y. So we've tried to make the car as similar to the 3 as possible, except to the degree that a change is necessary to achieve SUV functionality.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to sit 7 people and have a higher ride height, more cargo capacity, while still having a low drag coefficient and not increasing the frontal area too much, and so that the range. So basically. CDA, drag coefficient times frontal area, and mass are close enough to the 3 that the range is only affected by, let's say,
the weight,
8 to 10% or something like that. Yeah. The CDA is worse with the Y because the cross sectional area is higher.
Right, makes sense.
Bigger. So there are some manufacturing. Improvements for the Y. The rear underbody, we're moving to an aluminum casting instead of a series of stamped steel and aluminum pieces. But it drops from initially it will be 2 castings, and I'll go from 70 parts to 2. And then 70 parts to 2 plus joiners, so 4. And then it'll go, when we get the big casting machine, it'll go from 70 parts to 1.
Wow.
With a reduction in weight and an improvement in MBH and a reduction in cost and a significant drop in the capital expenditure required for all the robots that would otherwise be necessary to put those 70 parts together.
How is the Y project going?
It's going great. Yeah.
Are you happy with
smooth sailing?
Are you happy with the sort of reaction to its reveal a few months ago?
Yeah, I mean, I intentionally didn't go all out with the Model Y reveal because I didn't want to convince people to buy a Y instead of a 3.
Yeah.
So, if everyone just decided, okay, we'll just buy a Y instead of a 3, then we wouldn't have any customers, and there would never be a Y because nobody, how would we float? We wouldn't be able to float the company. So, so I was like, I was kind of like medium in presenting the Y, but I think when people get it, the reaction will be better than they think. So, and it's really just like if you want an SUV and are prepared to accept a slight cost increase and a slight range decrease, then that's great. The advantage of a sedan is it's going to cost a little bit less and it'll have a little more range.
Right.
And so it just kind of depends on whether you want a sedan or want an SUV.
What's been your thought process on where to build it? Because the last couple of earnings calls, you seemed, you didn't make any guarantees, but you seemed to say, well, I think we're probably going to look at building this at the Gigafactory. And then on the last conference call, the last earnings call, you said you were maybe leaning more towards finding some room in Fremont to do it. So is there sort of just curious sort of your thought process. I'm sure there are pluses and minuses to doing it in either location.
Yeah, we could do it in either location. The long lead items for Model Y are mostly the tools for stamping. So like the body side outer tools are the long lead items. So there's whether we put it in Fremont or in Nevada at Gigas, we have more time to decide that versus the amount of time it takes to machine these giant stamping tools.
Right.
That's the gating factor on timing. And right now, our default plan actually is to produce the Y at Fremont. And I was skeptical about whether this made sense at first, but my team convinced me that this is actually the fastest way to get to volume production is to do the Y at Fremont.
I guess especially when you're sharing 75% of the parts, it makes sense to have them all under one roof.
Yes. There's some pros to doing it at Giga as well because we don't have to transport the drive units and the battery pack and the chargers we can just make them right there. And labor, just the cost of living is less in Nevada.
Sure.
So you can have the same standard of living for less money in Nevada than in California, or especially the Bay Area. So fundamentally, cost of living here is on the high side. So that's why it was a little counterintuitive. But and it's not a totally clear-cut decision, but we're optimizing for speed of execution, and on balance, it seemed like we could get things done faster if we did it in Fremont.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and part of it is like I was like skeptical at first, like where are we going to put this? We had to put the
GA4
in a tent. It was a very nice tent.
That's where my car was built.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not like a Cub Scout tent. It's a structural tent. But we've actually found there's some warehouse space we were using for warehousing parts in the main factory, and then we can sort of append things to the western side of the factory, the highway side of the factory, and kind of use that wall and just kind of add things on there. So it's sort of counterintuitive, but it does seem as though we have the room and we can do so without disrupting the Model 3 production or S Next production.
You've been having a lot of fun with software in the cars lately. We've seen the Tesla Atari game suite come around. You were talking on Twitter recently about your love of Portal and some of those games you'd like to see porting the Unreal Engine, Unity Engine, potentially into the cars. There's one other thing.
We have Unity working.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I saw sort of we have like a beach buggy driving game. What's it called? Dune buggy or something like that. Yeah. So that's pretty fun. and then Cuphead we've got working.
Really?
Yeah.
I know them. I know the developers in my day job. Yeah, I think they would be. Do they know that?
Yeah, they've been helping us make it work.
Yeah. Jared, the Moldenhauer family, they're wonderful.
Yeah, it's a cool game. It's crazy.
Great.
It's insanely difficult.
Yes, by design.
By design, yes.
Yeah.
It's sadistically difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you gotta
I think they admit that, actually.
You got to beat the devil. It's
it's twisted plot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Deal with the devil.
It's dark.
Right. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks like some cute little Disney thing. You're like, this plot is very dark.
Yeah.
But it's we kind of have like Cuphead and Dune Buggy working on the thing. It was going to see a bunch of other games. We didn't anticipate having all these games there, so the storage space will be a tricky one. But so you just kind of like have to decide what game you want to play, and then it'll download it. And so if you want to play other games, you'll have to delete that one and
Makes perfect
load
sense.
another one. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I was actually watching an old presentation of yours recently, the open house, the Fremont open house from 2011, before the car shipped. You were showing off the UI to the original group of Model S reservation holders. And in there...
8 years ago, damn.
Yeah, 8 years ago. And in there, you'll remember the original 1.0 of the Model S UI had a tab for apps. Ultimately, you never did anything with it. So I'm just sort of curious, you've been doing more with games, and we've seen so many amazing features just this year. I talk about it on my podcast all the time. Just in 2019 with Sentry Mode and all kinds of stuff. Is there any thought to maybe opening things up and having a curated app store like situation where people could write apps for the car as you had originally laid out?
Well, in order for it to be worthwhile for somebody to write an app, there has to be enough of an install base to warrant the effort. Even if you're going to port something, it's still got to be kind of worth the effort.
Yeah.
So as our number of vehicles grows, and you need to have a consistent platform as well. So as the number of vehicles grows, then it starts to potentially make more sense to develop games or other applications for Tesla. But we just need a lot of cars. Like if we have millions of cars, then it starts like, okay, that could kind of make sense.
Sure.
Especially since the center screen is an Intel platform, and it just runs Linux basically. So if you have something that runs Linux, Intel Linux, then and works on a touchscreen, then you don't have to do much work to port it. But I think there's not much point in us putting a massive amount of effort into an app store until the number of vehicles is higher. So I think for now, what makes sense is to just work with a few cool games and app developers that kind of just went out of interest and curiosity, or just think it would be cool to kind of port their stuff. There's no money in it right now. You can't compete with whatever. There's like 500 million iPhones or something, right. Or a billion Android devices, or that's like we're orders of magnitude away from that. So it's kind of, if you have something already and it's like pretty easy to port, then it might be fun to do that, and especially if they're driving the car, then it's kind of cool. So it's just like a few kind of demo apps that are kind of fun, especially if they increase the fun level in the car. That'd be cool.
Are you still working on getting Netflix and/or a YouTube portal into the cars for a future software version? You mentioned that as maybe a V10 thing.
Well, you could certainly. It would be pretty straightforward to allow access to Netflix, because you can just go through a browser.
Yeah.
Any kind of browser interface is going to work, because we've got Chrome running, or Chromium, I guess.
Chromium now, yeah.
Yeah. So the issue is the bandwidth consumed is going to be significant for video. So we can't afford to have, like, it would be tough for Tesla to pay for massive amounts of like for people to watch a movie over a cell connection.
Yeah, racking up that bill with AT&T.
It would be an expensive movie. So if I think we could just enable it for, if you're connected to Wi-Fi or something like that, then it would certainly make video work real easy.
On that note, I see a lot in the community the North American Tesla owners are jealous of their European counterparts because they have Slacker, or pardon me, they have Spotify in their cars, and we have Slacker.
Why do you hate Slacker?
No. Don't shoot the messenger here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is there like a sort of a contractual thing with Slacker? Then that's why there's no Spotify here, or is it just your preference? Or I guess got to ask that one on behalf of the community.
We just have a lot of fish to fry, and switching to Spotify in the U.S. is just like not on the priority list relative to other things. Like people can certainly still play Spotify through the Bluetooth connection on their from their phone.
Right.
So when we first did this, back in 2010, or we were in production in 2012.
Right.
It was kind of crazy to have like streaming audio in a car. Like no car had that.
You could call up any song with voice activation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like a crazy magic trick back in 2012. It's like only 7 years ago. So the idea of being able to play any artist or any song or any like comedy routine, Monty Python, whatever it is, and it'll just play it was like kind of mind blowing in 2012. It's like obviously a lot less mind blowing in 2019. But that's so it's just we have a lot of fish to fry, and giving people the option of Spotify is, I guess, something we'll probably do down the road, but it's just not a high priority right now.
Understandable, and certainly the present, you've got a lot to solidify in the present day, and so sort of on the topic of priority, with the push for autonomy and the Tesla network due to come online in the near future, and your belief that people will call for the steering wheel to just get deleted at some point sooner rather than later. I'm sort of curious about how you think of you've talked a lot about Tesla as the most exciting product lineup in the world, and I, as a Tesla owner and enthusiast, certainly don't disagree.
From a product roadmap standpoint, I think it's hard pressed to think of what would be second or third. I think Tesla's got the best, like the most exciting product lineup by a long shot of any company that is publicly announced.